Welcome to the Marvelous Work and a Wonder Worldwide Radio Talk Show. At no time during the history of our world has a place existed where a person can go and ask any question about their human existence and have that question answered with authority, clarity, and completeness. During this radio talk show, many of the great and marvelous things that have been hidden from our understanding since the foundation of this world will be revealed. We've always known these real truths. They exist, hidden in the back of our mind within the confines of our imagination. Within the human mind, seeds of imagination sprout into belief systems of philosophy and religion. But these do not answer the basic questions of our existence. Who are we, and why do we exist? Religion and philosophy have produced fruits of discord, prejudice, and hate. These things are destroying our humanity. The purpose of the Marvelous Work and a Wonder is to introduce the real truth about our existence as human beings. Within its answers, the solutions to our human problems are found. Most of our problems are a cause of our ignorance, and our current experience upon this earth manifests the influence of this ignorance. This show is where current reality meets real truth.
I'd like to talk about for just a moment yourself personally. You're a very successful CEO of a company. Is it true that you make over $365,000 a year? You could live in a nice, beautiful home. You could have whatever material possessions you wanted. You've explained that you've had this visitation in the Salt Lake Temple where an advanced human has appeared to you, that you've been called to be a true messenger to the world. Can you talk about your motivation in continuing, if this is not true, compared to if it is true, in what you could do with your life?
So what you're basically saying is, what would motivate a guy who could have a mansion, could be a millionaire? What would motivate him to do these things? You see, because obviously you see I don't have a mansion. And it is true that legally I make a lot of money. But what happens to that money? Where does it go? Well, the truth is, every single dime, everything I ever receive goes towards this Marvelous Work and a Wonder. And also helping people who should rightly benefit from a CEO's wage, and that's the Thetes. And if you knew the whole facts behind it, you would see, oh, now we understand you really don't make nothing. Sherry and I live under the poverty level when you think about it that way. But the fact is, legally, I have access to that money. I have access to tons of things. So obviously the motivation isn't money. So one has to consider, why does he keep doing these things? And my whole past, the consistent way that I've dealt with this role, should tell people something, that I don't like it. I've tried to get out of it many times. I left it many times. Obviously, and that's where we need to get to the point in the chronology where, how did I get my role back? After 91, after I left it, what were the steps? What happened to where I ended up in that park, Liberty Park in Salt Lake City, in the northeast corner? One night, it was Thanksgiving Eve 2003, where one of these mentors came to me again and said, "You're the one. where I said, really? You couldn't find anybody else to do this? That was crazy. That was crazy to think that this world, and men especially, were so corrupt, so into their own lives and their value systems, they couldn't find anybody but me. But that's how it turned out. The motivation, I am not motivated to do this. This is the toughest thing. I don't like being hated. People hate my guts. They hate me worse than anything. Well, you can see how it affects Dushak. Harry Dushak's whole life is just, it's crazy. I don't want to do that to a person. He does it to himself. But the fact is, even those, Sharon, who you know, if they knew anything about this work, and that it has taken you away from the LDS Church, they're going to blame it on me, not you. I'm the devil. I'm the one. Who in their right mind needs that crap? Another motivating factor that some people might consider is he likes people to give him accolades. That's just simply not true. I don't even like to be around people. I hardly see people. I live around people that have accepted the marvelous work and a wonder, and I hardly see them. There's one public event a year on June 16th that I give. I give no other events. Nothing. I haven't seen you in months, since June 16th. And I probably only see you when you come around here. I'm not that way. I don't want people. It makes me very uncomfortable to have people looking at me as a prophet or as a revelator or anything other than a messenger. It makes me very uncomfortable. But I could. I mean, wouldn't it be true if I held weekly Sunday meetings? Wouldn't you two come? Wouldn't it be true that if I said, oh, in order to make this happen, I need 10% of your income? You'd probably give me 10% of your income because this makes a hell of a lot more sense in the Mormon Church. But I don't do that. It is true that there are very few people, I can count them on one hand, less than one hand, that contribute regularly to this work from their own source. Very, very few people. But there are some who obviously see the value of it and do not want to leave their material possessions to bullshit, to the state or to their children. They're going to just squander them, who allow me to be the executor of their estate and use whatever they've left in this mortal world for the sake of the marvelous work and wonder or the humanity party. That happens. There are very few people. Again, we're going back to that motivation. Why does he do this? I do it because there is nothing else in this world, knowing what I know, there's nothing in this world that I could possibly do that would bring me happiness. I get no happiness out of having money or driving a fancy car or living in a nice place. No happiness whatsoever. This jacket that I have on, $46. I think it was with Ross. $46. And you'll see me in this jacket, maybe with a different shirt, throughout the interviews. Most of the times you come around here, you're going to see me in pajama pants and a t-shirt. I just couldn't care less about material things. What I care about, I've always cared about since I was a kid, is justice, equality, and the real truth. People not deceiving other people with ridiculous things that they know are not true, but they do it to bring value to themselves. Every religion that exists upon this planet was derived and established by a man, usually by a man, trying to get value from other people. You cannot show me any religious organization, any organization for that matter, outside of the marvelous work and wonder and the humanity party that doesn't solicit for donations, whether it be in tithing, passing the hat, or what's out there. None. So I'm going to leave that up to my enemies, Robbie, to determine what motivation I have to do this work when it takes away from me being able to travel and use money, takes me away from whatever it is I could accomplish. Why in the world would I do that? Furthermore, I could introduce polygamy back into this system here and have 10 wives. Sherry probably wouldn't participate, but I know women that probably say, what the hell, don't have anybody else. Sharon might even say, what the hell, we'll use him, I'll take him once a week. You see, but have I ever come on to you that way, Sharon? Have I ever said, Sharon, I'm going to come over and let's just not tell Sherry that you and I are having a fling?
No.
I wouldn't do that. But I could. I mean, the fact is that I don't think Sharon would allow that with Sherry, but if I got rid of Sherry and said this is the way it should, why not? We're adults. So there always has to be some motivation behind why a person does it. I'm telling you that the reason why I do it is because I was asked to do it. That I have certain people that I call mentors, that every time I am around them, they make me focus and they motivate me to keep doing what I'm doing. You guys motivate me. The fact that this work can help people and change their life, take them away from the passive-aggressive, judgmental nature that most Mormons especially are, into a more humane, kind, and quote-unquote Christian person, that gives me motivation to keep doing what I'm doing.
I'd like to talk about that motivation. If the prophet of the Mormon Church had an experience like you did in the Salt Lake Temple, if they had a mentor, the ones that you described, can you talk about to someone who looks at those experiences, how that's changed your life? For those that believe in the marvelous work and wonder, can you tell them when you saw the advanced human, when you personally know the one that you describe as the overseer, how that, does that cause you motivation? Does that...
Well, no. Here's the deal. I knew everything how it really is on June 16, 1987. I knew the relationship that advanced humans have with this world, who the so-called overseer of this solar system, of the people who belong here, what role he plays. And so nothing's changed. Nothing's changed since 1987. I know that I am the God of my reality. That I have the power and the free will to do anything I want. I can end this right now. I can end this right now by killing myself because I know what the next step is. I return to being an advanced human being, and that's it. I know that without a doubt. But if I'm going to be here, I'm going to do something that I know is worthwhile, that I know that makes a difference in people's lives, a real difference, for people who are searching for the truth. I know that. Now look back to the Mormon prophet, the difference and the comparison between the Mormon LDS prophet, even the Pope, or anybody else out there, Dalai Lama, any spiritual guru, anybody out there, the difference between them and me, and the proof that I have mentors, and they do not, is that I can present viable solutions to the world's problems that will solve those problems. That's what Humanity Party is all about. We're presenting a political solution that works. No prophet of the Mormon Church has ever done that. They just say, oh, you got to give a little bit of your money to the poor. No, you got to eliminate poverty so nobody has to give any money to them anymore. Only a person who's, if we bring God into this equation, let's bring God into the equation that he's an omnipotent, omniscient person, all right? A God who knows it all and has his creations. Wouldn't that person know what to do? Wouldn't that person know how to solve the problems and present us a viable plan? Yes, that person would. And that gives more credence to this. Now some might say, well, we don't believe that your plan will work. Let's see how it won't. The fact is, there's really no difference between religion and politics. There's just simply no difference. They're one and the same. It's human beings relating to this earth's life, their day-to-day activities, and what they are forced to do by the laws established by others. Whether those laws be of a religious nature or a political nature, there are still things that control the free will of a human being. So it's all one and the same. So there needs to be, if somebody claims to be a true messenger, that one must be able to introduce proper laws, statutes, proper powers and authorities that benefit everybody equally. And that's what we can do through this marvelous work and wonder. And no Mormon prophet or no other so-called pope or religious leader, political leader has the clout, the knowledge to do those things. This is another thing that will come up as we start presenting things. In the future, it's going to be no secret that I'm the voice of Anonymous for the Humanity Party. It's going to be no secret. If I was in a debate with some of these politicians and they brought up, you claim that you talk to God, or you talk to advanced humans, or you're a prophet, I would simply say, well, it seems to me that most people on this planet believe that the leader of their religion, or that they have belief in, had the same type of experiences that I claim to have. So what's the big deal? What's the big deal if you're Christian, you believe if Jesus were here today and you believe that he was Jesus, your Messiah, wouldn't you vote for him in the political office? You see? And he'd make crazy claims like he talks to angels and talks to God. What about Muhammad? All the Islamic people out there. Christians, Buddhists, you're a little bit different, but the fact is, why would it be so out of the ordinary that I make those claims and still be a responsible, reasonable politician that has solutions to people's problems, day-to-day problems? The fact is, I would love to debate any political candidate, because I say this in all due respect, and they can call it arrogance or not, I would destroy him. Why? Because I know the real truth. I know people, from the poorest to the richest, and anything that we would propose, that I would propose as a true messenger or a politician, whatever you want to call it, would always support each person's individual free will. Wouldn't take away the rich, wouldn't take away the poor, it would support both of their free will. Now, that's a big, long political answer, basically, to your question of the comparison between me and the Mormon prophet and these other leaders out there. They don't know squat. They simply don't know truth. They have no solutions. None of them would put themselves in front of the camera of a critic or someone who's answering questions and answer their questions verbatim. None of them would do that. They go by scripts. Well, you have seen, if any reasonable person has seen a one-on-one interview with Barack Obama, the President of the United States, or even some of these other politicians when they don't have a script in front of them. They don't make a lick of sense. Even Bernie Sanders comes out with his rhetoric. American people, we got to take away from the 1%, give it to the 99%. We got to have free education, free health care for people. But when someone says, well, how are you going to do that? The American people need to know we got to get in power, we can do that. How are you going to do that? They don't know. I could explain it precisely in detail how it can be done, and it would make sense. But the fact that it comes out that I have a religious belief, or I have a belief that I've been chosen to do a particular thing, what the hell, what's so wrong with that? You see my point? Anyway, so I've been gone off.